Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Um, we have a heck of a story for you this evening. I'm not going to spoil all of it, but just imagine that your doctor or your child's doctor recommends a medication for your child, but the legislature has decided that that medication should not be available on the market. And then imagine that while you're fighting to get the legislature to allow it to be on the market, one of the legislators in question actually proposes that people who desire that medication should just instead take a hit of bourbon. Mm-hmm. That's where we are. And don't get me wrong, I'm quite the fan of bourbon, but there's a lot of medications for which bourbon's not a substitute. But let's back up a bit and let's find out what this story is really about. This is Kristin Wilcox, who's with me this evening. Thank you for joining us, Kristin.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I believe you're going to tell us the story about your daughter, Shelby.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Shelby.
Okay. Well, Shelby now is 14 years old. She was born Christmas Eve of 2005. Greatest Christmas gift ever. Born happy and healthy and full term and beautiful, wonderful. My first and only child. Everything was great. Got to bring her home actually on Christmas Day. We were spoiled in the maternity ward, the only ones in the place, and I wanted them to have their Christmas, and everything was great. And so we got to come on home, celebrate Christmas. Wonderful day. Shelby was fine. I had gone back to work, and at 4 months of age, I actually took her to the health department to get her 4-month immunizations. And we were the last appointment of the day as I had to take off work to take her. And by 6 a.m. the next morning, when I got up to get ready to go to work the next morning, she was laying in her crib having a seizure. Oh. Scared me to death, of course. And her father and I rushed her to our local emergency room where they said, it was just an adverse, reaction from the shot. She probably ran a little fever and this was a febrile seizure, but she seems fine now. No damage, nothing to worry about. Don't sweat it. Go on home. So we did. And thankfully, I think a week or two went by. And just out of the blue, she had another one. And then another one. And they were very strange. We didn't get a diagnosis for years. Nobody could tell me why this was happening. And I had already studied some on febrile seizures and knew that they only happen when a child had a fever. But right. The last one that she had, she didn't. Nothing was wrong with her. She was fine. And so these seizures were happening for nobody knew why. And we were set up with a neurologist. All the tests and studies and pricks and prods you can imagine were done to her. And they were never able to give her a diagnosis. Finally, over the years, between the day, she first started having seizures and May of 2008, she had hundreds of seizures. What first began as just a here and there and, maybe go a week or two, they progressed to be hundreds a day. And they were becoming more violent and much more scary and deadly than they had before.
How violent were they? Can you?
Very. Her worst. She has been life flighted 26 times to date. Her longest seizure was a grand mal seizure, which is where all the limbs are violently convulsing at the same time. The breathing is very rapid and shallow if they breathe at all. Her longest and worst one to date was 14 hours straight. And that time they had a horrible time getting an IV in her, and stuck her 22 times, finally getting one in her temple just above her eyelid. And it was horrible. I just knew that day that I would lose her. But she came back around, and I knew that day that I would always fight for her. She fought so hard for me. I'm going to do the same for her. Finally, in May of 2008, I had been fighting for years for genetic tests. I had read up on epilepsy where they say, oh, well, there's a cocktail of medications, and if that don't work, then you're just pretty much out of luck. But they kind of cover all the different seizure disorders. Well, nothing worked. She'd been on a huge cocktail of different anti-epileptic drugs and sedatives, for years, and you could see that they were really holding her back cognitively. And so finally, I pushed her neurologist for genetic testing. And I think it was a month or so later when those results came back, and came back that she had what's called Dravet syndrome. It's a gated sodium channel mutation, which don't make a whole lot of sense to most, but basically it's just a mutation of a gene, and it causes these seizures. Lo and behold, it's extremely rare. Nobody knows much about it at all. There's no scope of practice, no prognosis available. And I felt like we were just kind of being the guinea pig. Her doctor, I love him to death. He has always been wonderful with her. He was a new practicing neurologist, fresh out of school, and he told me, I don't know what to do, but I promise that I'll listen to you and I'll work with you, and we'll do the best we can for her.
That actually sounds remarkably like a doctor who helped my parents with me when I was very young.
Yeah.
I know people love experienced doctors. We all love people with experience,
Yes.
but every now and then you get the new person who just has the energy and passion, and sometimes I end up loving those people more. So I'm sorry, that just struck me.
No, it's fine. We had fired many. We had seen many, and you could tell within the first 5 minutes how their attitudes were going to be, and if they were willing to listen to what input you had, and listen to what you'd read about and the research that you've done, and
right.
you could tell if they were open to listening to you, or if you were just another dollar sign and
right.
in and out. And I'm so thankful that we finally found this doctor, and he was willing to work with us from day one, and he followed through. Over the years, there wasn't a whole lot that we could do for her. We would change up medications and do different doses, and try to stay on top of it to keep her seizures as controlled as possible.
Right.
At that point, it was great, because we went from hundreds of seizures a day down to 2 or 3 seizures a day, which is still a lot of seizures, but it was the biggest breakthrough we'd had since before she started seizing at all. Over the years, nobody had ever heard of Dravet syndrome until Charlotte Figge made the news one day, and I just so happened to be watching, and they talked about Dravet syndrome, and my ears perked up, and I was really excited to hear what this little girl and her parents had to say. I'd never seen or met another family or child who had what mine did.
Right.
And what she had to say was crazy. They had went to Colorado and tried medical marijuana, and it was working. The child had amazing results, and that's all I really got from that program. But it was the hope that I needed and the drive to start looking outside of the box of the crap we've been offered, you know. So our very next neurology appointment, I talked to her doctor. I said, you know, I watched on TV the other day, this little girl, I said, she's got Dravet syndrome. She's using marijuana and it's working for her. And, you know, I thought for sure he'd be like, get out of my office. I'm never talking to you again. And he was actually very open to it. And, you know, I had said it jokingly, knowing that would never be something that we would look into.
Right.
But over the months and years ahead, I started seeing other kids and other reports and other seizure disorders. I saw a little boy who had never been out of a wheelchair, and he started using the CBD and marijuana, and he was walking. He was playing not only walking, he was playing soccer with same age peers. I saw a
That's
little
incredible.
Girl, yeah, another little girl who's never said a word in her life had a full-blown vocabulary, you know, after a month of use. And as a mom, when you find out you've got a special needs child, and, you know, you grieve their loss.
Sure.
And you can't help but hurt for all the things that they're going to miss out on. And we had nothing to lose. We were still in a time where we were having being flown to different hospitals across the country, and you get desperate, you know, and so I decided I found some people who were like me, and even for different reasons had the same desperation that we did, and just needed the hope. You don't know for sure if it's going to work or not, but what do you have to lose?
Right.
You know, you're backed in a corner and there's nowhere but up to go. And so I began fighting for this with, I found a great group of other Kentuckians who believe in medicinal marijuana from different groups and, you know, different backgrounds. And I feel like we formed a really good coalition and started pressing forward at the state level. Even still, years gone by and nothing gave. And finally, we heard about a clinical trial that was happening, French medication called Epidiolex. It was created by GW Pharmaceutical Company out of France.
Okay.
And it was a 100 milligram per kilogram CBD oil, but they said that it was whole plant medical marijuana, and that it would be, you know, something worth trying. It was getting really good reviews in the clinical trial. So again, I went to the doctor and I said, hey, I want to try this stuff. And he said, oh, well, it's not even, they won't even let us have it in the United States yet. I've been reading about it. I've been thinking about you guys. I promise as soon as it's available here, we'll get you on it.
Thanks, FDA.
Yeah, thanks, FDA. And it was years later. Every time we go to the neurologist, I'd say, hey, what's going on with that stuff? And it came to a point to where he finally told me one day, he said, you know, Shelby's getting worse. He said, why don't you just go out and get some marijuana, try it. He said, see if it helps her. He said, if it was my child, that's what I would do. And I said, well, you know, doctor, I would love to be able to do that. But first drug test that she fails, I would be arrested and, you know, painted up like a murderer on TV, and they take her from me, and it would be, I can't go through that.
Sure.
I can't afford to move, and
Right.
why should we have to take her away from her support system and family? And two, it's not just as easy as everybody thinks. Oh, just go. It's not go down to the corner and get a dime bag from whoever's selling it. You have to be consistent with a dose.
Right.
There's hundreds of different strains, different THC to CBD ratios, and
Right.
you have to have a consistency and a proper dose to be able to call it medicine. Otherwise, it's
Right.
You're just playing around.
Right. And how many? So to me, it sounds like you need a grower as opposed to a dealer. How many growers did you personally know?
Yeah, right. I mean, and I didn't. And any that I may have, I wasn't about to trust them with my child's life. Actually, the first news article that I had done about it, I had somebody from Romania reach out to me over the internet and offer. They said, "Hey, this stuff works. I grow it myself." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know who you are. Thank you, but no thanks. I don't know, who you are or what you've got or where it comes from. You might be the greatest person in the world, and I appreciate the offer, but no, that's just not a chance you can take." But anyway, finally in 2016, February of 2016, Shelby got to start her clinical trial through the University of Louisville. We have waited years for this. It was a rocky road, and we finally got through it. That trial lasted 3 years before it was finally FDA approved, which was wonderful. With the addition of that drug, once we worked out all the kinks and got her right dose figured out, it's been wonderful. It really has. All of her other anti-epileptic drugs have been cut in half or more. We saw cognitive gains, which was a huge plus that I never even realized was possible. I was looking to just get rid of the seizures or have more control over them, but the cognitive gains we saw. Her teacher at school had sent me a video of her self-feeding, which is huge. I mean, huge. Right. And she started trying to make more sounds. She's nonverbal. She started making more sounds and just various little things that was awesome, And
now, am I correct in my understanding that it's the cocktail of drugs that was causing the developmental issues, or is it the actual underlying illness?
Both. I think that the younger children that I have met that have Dravet syndrome, it's being caught a lot sooner than it was for Shelby. Those seizures, every time you have a seizure, it cuts off oxygen to the brain, and every little second causes damage, and you may get that back and you may not. And
so everybody who stood in your way of
blame, and I will always hold them accountable for that. Absolutely.
So I hope some people in office end up hearing this. I hope you think about that. I hope you consider that when you're getting in the way of a doctor trying to help their patient, you are causing permanent harm. And I have a little challenge for everybody who's watching, because I saw there was a lot of interest in this video. I think it's because there's a lot of people who know you, who are passionate around you. Mm-hmm. Guys, if you're watching this, get this video out beyond the choir. I mean, I can get it to libertarians. You can get it to people who support medical marijuana. We have to push beyond that. If you're watching this video, pester someone who's not in the choir. Say, I want you to listen to this story. Just as a friend to me, just listen to this story.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll probably get a little hate email over it or something like that. That's fine.
You send them to me. I'll take care
We
of
don't
that.
care. That's right. And I mean, now I don't want to make people feel too guilty or anything, but think about the story we just heard. Think about the damage that was done to Shelby. That's what we're fighting for.
Yes.
So get this out beyond the choir.
Yes, there's lots of kids too that have, like I say, a lot of them now are being diagnosed younger and not going through the same things. But even now, Shelby still has seizures. She still and I don't think that there's a legislator in our House or Senate currently that has not got a video of her seizing. For the first year that I began fighting this, I thought, oh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to tell them my story. They're going to have kind hearts and do the right thing for us. There's no way that they could just look the other way and not care about this innocent, beautiful child. And it didn't work out. And the next year,
what did they say?
They don't care. They automatically assume that you are the pothead, that you want to, that marijuana is just, medical marijuana is just a stepping stone for stoners to get out there, and these people are using you and using your child's story just so they can smoke marijuana. No. Those people are already smoking marijuana. They have already been doing it. They don't care about the law. This is not about them.
People who abuse drugs, and you can certainly do a lot of harm to yourself with drugs, including one of my favorite drugs here, caffeine. I sometimes consume a little too much, but there's a lot of drugs out there, and you can't ultimately stop people from hurting themselves.
Right.
But making Shelby or children like Shelby a victim of you trying to anyway is just irresponsible.
Absolutely. And it's no excuse. And so the second year I went at this, I was mad. You get mad, you get very bitter. I've probably cussed legislators too much. I've called, I've got their phone numbers and called them in person. I've called their wives. I've tried to beg and plead and on my knees for these people. And when that don't work, you get mad.
Sure.
And I am a mother. I will fight to the end of the earth to see this through. I don't care what your position is. I will do everything in my power to help ensure that you are not there the next time this comes around for a vote.
Right.
And so the next year, my whole strategy changed. Every time she would have a seizure, which was 2 or 3 times a week, I would record it. They were awful. They were very raw and vile, and I can't imagine what somebody who don't see them every day would think to get that in an email. But they've all got them, and they've all watched them, and they've all been tagged in videos and talked to in person. And we have definitely changed a lot of minds over the years. When I first started mentioning marijuana when Shelby was, 6, people thought that I was Satan. I mean, I may as well have been. That's before the public opinion swayed in our favor.
Right.
But today, so people want to know if the Epidiolex that has been FDA approved now is working, why do you continue to fight for medical marijuana legalization? And to them, I have to let you know, for one, she's still having seizures. Her seizures are so much better controlled, but she still has them. And she aside from just taking a daily medication, there's something called an emergency stop medication. So if we're in Walmart, walking down the aisle buying our groceries for the week, she can just drop on the floor right then and there, have a seizure. My only alternative to get that seizure to stop, I have a diastat that I keep, one in my purse, one in my car, and several in the house at all times. They go to school with her, wherever. They are a rectal suppository. Imagine being a 14-year-old, the
In
dignity
Walmart.
in Walmart, surrounded by, in a small town, everybody you know, and having to pull down the pants of a 14-year-old and do that to them in public. That's ridiculous. It's terrible. I don't want to do that to her, but it's a life and death situation. But
Right.
it's something that's something I shouldn't have to do. In the rest of the country, where over 70% of our population lives, they have access to a THC nasal spray. One little shot up the nostril, seizure's over. Why does my child not deserve that option? So that's one reason. Reason number two why I still fight is because this costs $41,520 a year. It's being paid for by Kentucky Medicaid. I'm sorry, people. I love you. I hate that we have to be the bad guys that use your tax dollars. This is life and death for my child. This is what I have to do. I can't afford that.
Right.
But I could grow it at home and probably improve on it for about $200 a year. So next time your legislator is voting no and telling you no, you tell them Shelby is one small child and we're spending $41,520 per year on just one of her medications. That's
Right.
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Well, and I always like to remember that as big of an issue as this is anecdotal.
Yes.
I mean, there is issue after issue where our legislators try to rule our lives,
Yes.
and how many parents did lose custody of their children
Several.
before you got to the point you're at?
Yes.
How many people have gone to prison over PTSD? How many people have just over the years? There are heroes in prison who paved the way to this.
Yes.
And that is crushing to me.
Yeah.
But even beyond marijuana, what other things are out there? What other things are people finding a better path? And our legislators, in their arrogance, won't let people discover a better way. They say, no, we must know the right way. We will rule your lives.
Yes.
We will lead you to the right way to do it. That's where this comes from. This is
the really sad part is that it boils down to corruption and special interests involved. You always hear about big pharma, and
sure.
You think, oh, that's crap. Big pharma is not a real thing that, they just want money, just want to make money off of it. But here in our state, it's a corruption. I think our legislature is known for being one of the most, that's really the only thing we're the top at right now, is being the most corrupt in the nation. We have three major players when it comes to, this is my opinion, of course, but we have three major players when it comes to the special interests that stop this from being legalized. One is the pharmaceutical industry, one is bourbon, and the other is the hemp. If you look at the financial disclosure statements, those things are pretty much running our state. Those three interests, you're not going to walk in any legislator's office and not find a bottle of bourbon on their desk. You're not going to look at any of their financial disclosures and not find out where they're being funded from these big pharmaceutical, tobacco industries. There's so much corruption. Why? Even the hemp industry. I have so many friends and even family involved in the hemp industry, but a lot of these stand to lose profits if medical marijuana is legalized, or they think that they will.
Yeah, run us through that. How do they think they're going to lose money if medical marijuana is legalized?
I don't think that people understand enough to realize that hemp and marijuana are not the same. As you have to look and scale it by CBD to THC ratio, and hemp is beneficial for one thing, but THC the other. I mean, if you look at somebody like Mitch McConnell, for instance, who was pushing Gin Canna, I believe he owned stock in that company or something, I swear, but he was pushing these big hemp companies because he owned a huge chunk of them.
Right.
And I think that he's one of those that don't understand the difference in hemp and marijuana. And I feel like he thinks if we legalize marijuana here, that nobody will want hemp.
Oh.
And,
well, I'll want hemp because I drink hemp milk. I use hemp milk in my protein shakes.
Hemp is wonderful for so many things.
Hemp hearts, great for salads.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite clothing's made out of hemp.
Plastic
Hemp's awesome stuff.
Building textiles. Hemp is an amazing, very innovative. You can do anything with it. But I think that some of the legislators don't understand that. I think that they fear that one will replace the other. And the same with the bourbon. I feel like they worry that, if people can just go smoke a joint, they're not going to buy our bourbon, Right. And we are the land of distillers, and proudly so. But I don't feel like now the pharmaceutical industry, though, they will probably hurt if marijuana is legalized. I think that they want to get a hold of it first and take, strip all the properties out of it that make it give it the wonderful entourage effect that it all, has. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's saddening to me. I mean, I'm a software engineer, and I'm commonly guilty of I can fix it with software. I see a problem, I go to fix it with software. But sometimes you run into a problem that's better solved some other way, and that doesn't make me sad.
Yeah.
I just go, oh, okay, I'll go work on something else.
Yeah.
And it feels good as a human being to deliver value to your fellow man.
Absolutely.
But to prevent your fellow man from being able to get something they need just so that you can then supply it, that's corruption.
Yes,
you shouldn't do that, and we shouldn't allow people to do that.
I agree fully, and it really bothers me. But I can't, for the life of me, I can't come up with any other reason why they wouldn't allow this. The bills each year, they introduce, a new bill every year. We get a little bit closer every year, but the bills every year, we're selling out. I'm getting so mad because the bills that we've been introducing really don't help anybody.
Like HB 136 that only covered consumables, so I take it wouldn't help with the nasal spray Shelby needs.
It wouldn't, and it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Not that I could afford it anyway. Why would with the seed to store regulations and the uh, look at Illinois. You can't buy a candy bar in Illinois. I've had friends who've gone up there to when they legalize a candy bar in Illinois is $25. I mean, I can't afford that.
That is crazy.
So if I'm not able to grow it myself, then we're just going to keep letting Medicaid pay for it. And it's so regulated. Here's what House Bill 136 is going to do. And I'll probably make a lot of enemies for saying this, but people are going to spend the money to go get their medical marijuana card here in Kentucky. And then they're going to go to the black market and put, they'll go buy one small little thing to have that container with their name on it to make them legal. Then they're going to go to the black market. Nobody is going to be able to afford this crap. They need to back off. They're not physicians. You don't know my daughter and her health needs better than I do, better than her neurologist and her pediatrician does. You're not a doctor. Back off. This is, if you worry about people getting high, they're already high. They've been getting high for years. You're talking to the people that are going to break the law. They're already breaking the law.
Right.
You are regulating people like me who are law-abiding citizens who we just want help for our children or, whoever is suffering. And these bills, they're not going to help anybody.
Right. Now, I'm running for Congress for Kentucky's 2nd District. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly some things that need to be done at the federal level.
Absolutely.
Especially in relation to banking and especially in relation to THC levels. Yes. And you send me to DC, I will absolutely fight for those things.
Thank you.
But to be honest, what Kentucky needs more than that is people who will take care of you at the state level.
Yes.
So I'm afraid my party doesn't have somebody in every district to vote for, but I just put in a comment linking you to my list of candidates on, I have a candidates page I maintain. Mm-hmm. Check those out. See if there's somebody you can vote for locally. Mm-hmm. And to my knowledge, every libertarian is for medical marijuana. I don't even know.
I've ever spoke to has been.
I don't even know a libertarian that's not for ending the war on drugs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you're running against Brett Guthrie, correct?
That's correct.
I just want to let everybody know that I've tried to talk to him, and he will not even discuss the issue with me.
Right.
He hates me. He hates my daughter, and I don't think that that's fair. He's got to go. So you'll be getting my vote.
It's saddening to me that he won't talk to you. I mean, there's some of you out there who have some issues that you're very passionate about that I will disagree with you on, but yes. I will tell you why. Yes. And you may hate me and disagree with me, but to just
acknowledge us and let us give you our story and tell us where you stand and where we can work to change your mind, because we're not going to back down. We will be here.
And you shouldn't.
We'll be here to the end of time if we need to be. If I die, the next one will step up, I promise. We're not, this is an issue. The train is on the tracks and it's not stopping no time soon.
Well, call your legislators and let them know that if they don't take care of medical marijuana, you're going to start voting for someone who is.
Yes.
And start letting the Libertarian Party know about your problem children, your problem legislators, rather.
Yeah.
And we'll start recruiting people to run against them. We'll make sure you have somebody you can point to.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely want some of us in Frankfurt, but
Yeah.
on this subject, I don't even care. I just want this fixed.
I know.
And if you use us as a implement to make people worry about their seat width, I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. Call Brett, threaten him with me. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You can reach your Kentucky legislators at 800-372-7181. You can call them anytime and ask to leave a message with your House representatives or your senators, either one. I'm sorry, I don't have the Congress number right offhand, but I will post that in the comments when I can. And but yeah, let these people know that if I have learned that if it's not just about marijuana, if you are against us on this, you're against a lot of things.
Yes.
So yeah, if you if you're not going to stand up and do what the people ask you to do, you have no business being in office.
Right.
Our latest polls show something like 93% of all Kentuckians support legalization, medical legalization, and I think it's like 63% support recreational too.
Right.
There's
that's great, folks, but it's not enough. You've got to get in your legislator's face with the number Julie Cantwell put in the comments for us. Thank you, Julie. And let them know you're not passively for this. You're demanding this.
Absolutely.
You've got to help. You've got to help Shelby and the future generations of Shelby.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it.
Put the fear of God into them. They will do what you say. Just let them know if they don't, they're not going to be in office anymore.
Yeah.
And a reminder, share this out to people who aren't in the choir. Share it to the choir too, because they know other people not in the choir. But to get this out there, share, comment, like, direct message people, say, listen to Kristin's story. This is why you need to do this.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be back first thing in January. Shout out to all the people who from around the state work their tails off 24/7 year round to get these bills rolling, to lobby these legislators who go to Frankfurt every day. I can do interviews like this, but a lot of times I can't get there and do a whole lot more besides just, cause a stink on Facebook. But we all do our part, and I'm so grateful for them. And just, but we'll be back again come January, and we hope that 2021 will be our year. It's got to be. These kids have waited long enough.
Thank you, Kristin, for fighting for this cause, and thank you for joining. And everyone else who's out there fighting for this, thank you. We have no way of knowing who you're helping with this, but I'm extremely passionate about this. In case you haven't caught on, sorry, but keep fighting this fight. This is a good fight.
Yes.
Don't give up.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for helping get the word out there for us, because it helps more than you know.
Excellent. Thank you. I hope everyone has a good evening. Go hunt people who need to hear this. Get on it. Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.